Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all doing?
Great.
It's my great pleasure today to be able to invite onto the Red Sea International Film Festival in Conversation series one of my favorite filmmakers who has been many times at the Cannes Film Festival. He's won many prizes. He's been called many names, most commonly enfant terrible when he started up, but now one of the best auteurs and filmmakers on the planet. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gaspar.
Okay, look at me. Thank you. Hi guys, just over here. Fantastic. And back.
Good afternoon, Gaspar, and welcome to Jeddah.
Thank you. Last time I was here, it was through Zoom. Last year I was showing the movie Vortex, and I remember talking to the audience about it. I was behind my computer.
That was a lot of fun. I know that the Saudi audience loved Vortex, and they love a lot of your work. So I think it'd be nice to go back to the very beginning. Do you remember what the first movie you saw was?
My first movie, the first movies I watched.
Yeah.
The very first movie I remember watching in my life was my parents had moved to New York when I was a baby, and then when I was 3-4 years old, there was a movie playing on TV with lots of special effects called Jason and the Argonauts by Ray Harryhausen. And there was in a Greek temple, there were some like Spartans or Greeks fighting with skeletons. I couldn't believe that skeletons like that could fight. And I remember that then my mother told me, no, those are skeletons, those are dead people. But so that's my first memory of watching TV. And then certainly I went to see some Walt Disney movies or things like that that I don't remember. But my second big memory of being in a cinema and watching a movie is one movie that impressed most of the other directors of my generation. It's 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I saw it when I was 6. And then I felt I was like in a spaceship somewhere very far from this planet. And then I was asking questions to my parents all the time: what's this? What was that? And even very weirdly, the movie ends with an image of a fetus of an unborn baby in space, and I couldn't understand what was that baby with a big head, and I asked my mother, but what the hell was that weird baby? And she said, oh, that's an unborn baby. Before being born, they have big heads. And then she told me also how babies come to this world and how babies are conceived and why I came to this world, etc., etc. So wow, like the whole meaning of life hit my head that same night after having a discussion on the end of 2001.
That's incredible. Can we start with the flash photography now? We're not gonna change how we look in the next half an hour. Well, maybe I would. How does that translate from seeing a film having a huge impact to wanting to make them? Did your parents know?
Probably. I remember that my father didn't like the movie as much as my mother. The real film buff in my family was my mother, and she was bringing me like every 2 days to see a movie. Some for young kids, some for all audiences, and some also for adults. She enjoyed showing me adult movies, like from Germany, from everywhere. So, oh, that's what, and that's what made me strong, I guess. I'm strong. But yes, and at that time, we were living in Argentina, and in Argentina there was censorship, but hopefully both my parents knew people who were working at the entrance of the cinema selling the tickets, so they would let me go to see any movie with any rating for free. So I would spend almost every day going to see a movie, hiding in the bottom of the cinema, and I saw Taxi Driver, all the classics of Italian cinema. Yeah. Nowadays it's much easier to cheat when you're a kid because everything's on the internet for free, so it's not very difficult.
And what impact did that have on you? And when did you know that you wanted to be a filmmaker?
I guess since that day during which I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey for the first time, I knew that that movie was the biggest show that I had ever seen, and then I was obsessed with comic books, and mostly I saw that one day, because my father was a painter and I used to like drawing, that I would become a comic book artist. But being a comic book artist is a very lonely experience. You're all alone writing the screenplay, you're all alone drawing it, you're not there besides for the signatures, and at some bookstores you don't meet the audience. So when I turned 17, I finished my secondary school very early, and I decided to submit to film school, and hopefully they took me, although I was too young. They said, we never had such a young student. I said, okay, yeah, it's not a problem for me, it's a problem for you. No, okay, they took me. And
what was the film school? Where was it?
It's a film school for cinematographers. And so I learned how to use the camera, how to edit, and see, all the students that come out from that school turn into cinematographers, directors of photography or camera operators. And that's why also I like doing the camera in my movies. I don't do the lighting because it's a lot of job, and I like giving it to other people, but I like operating the camera. And then I finished that film school when I was 19. And I was too young to work, so I kept on studying other things, philosophy, and then I got a job as assistant director in of one of my father's best friends' film. His name was Fernando Solanas. Was an Argentinian director who escaped from Argentina for political reasons, and so he was shooting a movie in France, and I became his personal assistant. So I was doing short films. I was working with him as assistant director, and yeah, studying philosophy. One day out of two.
And what did you learn from this process of being an assistant? What was that training like for you?
You learn that when you do short films in a film school, it's always very friendly, mostly. When you work producing your own short films with no money, you're asking favors, but it still stays friendly. Although mostly you're broke, and you're asking 30 favors a day, and like half of the people tell you no, half of the people tell you probably yes, and so but you're begging. At the end, you get your movie done, but it takes a long time when you're working in the film industry, and that's what I learned. It's an industry with a syndicate, with lots of things that are not friendly. So and it's more like running an army. And I learned that, like, more social aspect of cinema, that it's running a company. And weirdly, Fernando Solanas, who was old, I don't know, maybe so sometimes in a movie, when people become problematic, you have to fire them. So he said, it's good to maintain a good energy in the crew. It's good to fire one person every week. It's a joke. No, he was joking, but still, there were many tensions because there's always someone, this is not what I expect. And you're assistant director, you should respect me. There's always people complaining on the set. So he said, Gaspar, it's your job. Personal assistant director is the one who fires people. So it was me. I was a barely 19 who would go tell people who were like 30 years older than me, you're fired. And it was funny. Because, but why doesn't he tell it to me directly? What does it go through you? Yeah, because he thought it would be sweeter if it's a young kid who tells me. You learn those things. But actually, you're learning what the real the real world is when you start working in the film industry. And also, what then I learned by doing my own films much later is that it's an industry. Sometimes it can get close to art, very few times. Mostly it's an industry of entertainment. And it's like selling cheese or sausages, and people, they tell you I'm a producer and like I produce art. No, they're mostly creating products that have to be consumed and rewarded financially. So yeah, that's something that's always weird. You know how it is. Even sometimes the movies that make the most money are the most awful ones. Some good movies can make money. So mostly, and then some directors or actors respect cinema and take it for an art, but mostly it's not an art. Experimental movies can be art, but narrative cinema is not that much.
So if it's not an art, do you not consider directors artists, or how does that work?
When I see my father painting, by the way, this photo was taken in front of a painting of my father by my father. My father is an artist, and I didn't want to compete with him on that ground because he was too good. And I said, I was just a second, not the first one. So I decided to follow my mother's path, who liked cinema more than painting. And but when I see him, for me that's art. Music can be art, but also music, if you have a big orchestra, it's an industry, you have to pay salaries, or architecture is an art, but also it's an industry. So in my head, when I hear the word artist, I think of a single person doing something on his own, not with a team, because being a film director or being an architect or running an orchestra is more being like the captain of a football team. You're very much, your talent is very much linked to the talent of all the people that are inside the crew, and so the captain gets the glory, but it's the crew that makes the team win or lose.
So how do you come up with an idea? What happens in that moment when you think, I have an idea and I want to become the captain of this team to make this idea into a film?
Mostly, I went to a film school, so between the age of 17 and 19. And then I started doing shorts, but it's not that you have a good idea and then you say that idea has to deliver a message or like a new concept to the audience. Mostly it's because you know that you want to make movies because it's fun, and you proceed by phobia. Would I want to do like a romantic comedy? No. Would I want to do a musical? No. Do I want to do a karate movie? No. Do I want to do a period movie with all these costumes and makeup? No. So finally, if you decide all the things that you don't want to do, it's like in life, you don't fall in love because you decided to fall in love. You fall in love because there's one person out of 1,000 that has something particular, and sometimes there's one subject that comes to your mind, and you say, this is a very interesting subject that I haven't seen on screen, and you want to make movies that you haven't fully seen on screen before. Sometimes you make a mix, like a salad with different elements that usually are not mixed together, but what triggers your real desire is almost unconscious. It's not something you decided in advance. And these unconscious choices come from all the marks of your life, all the steps you've done, all the accidents that happen on the way, etc. So you think you're conscious of the reasons, but you're not really conscious.
And at the start of your career, you spoke about a short. You made Carne, which was for a short film. It was a huge hit that traveled around the world. And then already before you made a feature film, people were talking about you in the festival circuit. How did that make you feel? And can you tell us a little bit about Carne and how it became your first feature film?
Yeah, after going to this film school and working as assistant director, I decided that I wanted to do a movie about a butcher living alone with his daughter. The mother left him with the little baby, so he raised the baby. But also this one like cultural particularity of this butcher. He's a horse meat butcher. Probably because I was born in Argentina and you don't eat horse meat in Argentina. I was shocked when I arrived to France at the age of 13 that people were eating horse meat. So I said, oh, this is shocking. They eat horses here, it's like a sacred animal. And at the same time, I wanted to taste it. So I went to a horse meat butcher shop and I brought my piece of meat and I told my parents, I'm going to eat horse meat. No, don't do it in front of our eyes. So I ate that horse meat. And then one day I said, this is what France is also about. There are some things that are different from the Western culture in Argentina. And this story was some people compared this short film, which was 40 minutes long, to Taxi Driver because it's about a lonely man, although he has a daughter. She's a bit autistic, so it's mostly about a loner with and you hear his thoughts as a voiceover during the whole movie. And one day he believes that his autistic daughter has been raped, so he stabs someone and he loses the right to keep his daughter, and he's sent to jail. So then he comes out from jail and he abandons his daughter and starts a new life as a bartender with a horrible woman who runs a coffee. And so it was like a very close to the ground drama in the suburban Paris with a very low class characters like for poor people. The kind of France that you don't see often on screen, also because sometimes these kind of characters would consider fascist, but it was just a loner who has no political statement to, but he's just lost in the suburbs of Paris, trying to survive. And the movie was successful in film festivals. It ended up being 40 minutes long. And when you do movies that are above 30 minutes, they call them middle-length movies, or moyen métrage in French. And sometimes those movies are weirdly selected by feature film festivals more than by short film festivals. So I went to all these big film festivals, Toronto, Cannes, etc., and I spent a whole year traveling. Business class, great hotels. I made a movie with no money at all, and it was very weird to be received, get awards. So I said, then you get addicted to that treatment. You say, I want to fly again. I want to be in big hotels, meet funny people, party, get awards, and get good reviews. So that brought me to write other stories, and I wrote like 3 stories in a row. I wrote the first draft of Enter the Void. I wrote the first draft of Love, but then while I was waiting to find a way to produce those complicated movies, one because it was dealing with the passion among young kids 20 years old, and the other one because it dealt with a lot of visual effects. It was supposed to portray what people call near-death experiences. I said, what can I do in between, because I still need to survive, pay my rent, and while I'm waiting to start these 2 movies I would like to do, I have to do something else to pay my rent. And I said, the first short film was successful, so I will shoot another 40 minutes and turn it into a feature, and then I re-release it as a full-length feature. I thought it was a good idea, but what happened then is that my girlfriend, who had co-produced and co-edited with me the first one, she also wanted to direct her own movie. So we started shooting my 40 minutes that were the additional part of Carne, and she was shooting her movie, but then we kind of went bankrupt. And it was like, I have to stop my movie because otherwise I'm going to kill her movie. And I was polite, or I was in love. So I said, okay, we finish her movie first. So we finished her movie. Once it was finished, her movie was 52 minutes long. It went to many festivals. It was called La Bouche de Jean-Pierre. And so we finally sold that movie. And with the money that I got we got from the sales of that other movie, I could restart the shooting of the sequel of Carne. But the sequel of Carne had turned kind of old because I was working already for 2 years on those 40 minutes. So I finally said, oh, let's make like a brand new feature out of this extension. And it actually became, just a sequel became a 90 minutes feature film called Seul contre tous, or I Stand Alone. And he was portraying the rest of the life of this butcher that was played by an actor called Philippe Naon, who's now dead, but some people say, well, Scorsese had De Niro, Gaspar, no, he had Philippe Naon, and he was like my soulmate, or a kind of like vision of myself when I would be old. And yeah, it was the first time also that I worked with an actor who was like 30 years older than me, something I did much later with Dario Argento on Vortex. But I really enjoyed shooting that sequel and then showing it. And some people thought that this first feature made with no money called Seul contre tous was even more shocking than the first one, mostly because it contains some simulated violent scenes that look very real. That's the magic of cinema. You can shoot something that's totally fake, but still in the audience everybody knows that a movie is all like an art of tricks, but people still believe that what's going on screen is like what's going on in your dreams. And when you wake up from a dream, you say, oh, it was horrible, but it was a dream, but still you have the feeling that it was real. If you kill someone in a dream, you're happy that it was finished and you didn't go to prison, but still the murder was real, and you know it. That's how when you see a movie, you know that everything's fake, but still you're shocked that you assisted to some murder, yeah, that's the magic of cinema. That's why people are very addicted to it. It's a kind of like social drug, cinema. I'm happy that now that you're seeing all these movies here, but it's a real it's an addiction. It's an addictive art, probably the most addictive art of all when it's an art again.
You said that cinema is like dreams, but I remember when I first watched Seul contre tous, called I Stand Alone in English, that I was watching the film. It seemed very violent, especially at that time, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it started flashing. You had 30 seconds to leave the cinema, and you broke the fourth wall. You were telling me I should be very scared right now, and I got very scared. Can you talk about these ideas?
Actually, in both movies, in the first part, so Carne, and the second part, Seul contre tous, or I Stand Alone, I used a lot of title cards, like in the press, in which you can read the comments that are like comments that come from the director or from the producer, you don't know. But in the second movie, towards the end, yeah, that there was a warning, bing, 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 10 minutes before the end of the movie, and it says danger, danger, warning, warning. You have 30 seconds to leave the cinema, or you're gonna be shocked. And then there's a shocking scene. But I thought it was really to put people in a good state of mind. It's like hypnosis. If you don't tell someone you're going to hypnotize him, it's not going to work. You have to tell him, you're going to hypnotize you. Are you okay? I'm going to hypnotize you. And after a few times that the person says, yes, I want to be hypnotized, then you can hypnotize the person. But it was a kind of a way of hypnotizing the audience by telling them, oh, what you're going to see is real, and it's not. Of course, it was not. But also, it's a joke that was already in an old movie by William Castle that I hadn't seen at the time, but I had read in some reviews that there was a movie that had a warning towards the end, and I said, well, I don't know what that warning looks like, but I'll do my own warning. But it's a good idea. So sometimes you steal ideas from other movies. Sometimes you steal ideas from the yellow press. Sometimes you steal ideas from commercials or from other arts. But mostly you're driven by the subject, and the subject's more linked to your own life than the cinematic gimmicks or tools. You see them from everywhere.
And then you went on to make perhaps one of the most famous films of the last 50 years, Irreversible, which
But is it famous for the good reasons or the bad reasons?
is famous for
That's what my
famous for
producer was
good
saying.
and bad reasons. No, it's all famous for good reasons.
No, I think it's famous probably for the good reason, but it was successful for the bad reasons probably. That's what my producer said. Yeah, it was my biggest hit is also my most violent movie, but he said, yeah, but don't be proud of that because I think it succeeded commercially for the wrong reasons.
It's a film that goes backwards. It tells the story of a revenge after sexual violence. It's a story that is very, very powerful. How do you come up with, and how do you try and write something that goes backwards?
Initially, I had proposed this other project to Vincent Cassel and Monica Bellucci, who were the biggest couple of stars in French cinema. And they said, yeah, we want to shoot with you, but then they said, no, we cannot do a movie such as Love. Even the movie would have been different and certainly much softer if it was them playing the movie, but they said yes and no. But they said, in any case, we're free this summer to do a movie. So I had like 2 days to decide which other movie I could propose them so we could do a movie together. Once again, I had to pay my rent. So it was yes or yes, I have to do a movie with them, they're free. And so I told them, let's not cancel the lunch we have with the producer, because we'll find something else in 2 days. Yeah, we'll find. So we went back we went to that lunch, and on the way we were in a car together and said, oh, I'm gonna propose them a story told backwards, and they said, okay, but it's a joke. No, it's not a joke. Like a movie told backwards, a bit like Christopher Nolan had released with a Memento, that is a movie that goes both in the right, is both chronological and anti-chronological. But I said, no, let's do it more simple. Let's just tell the story backwards. Or also, like a theater play by Harold Pinter that I hadn't seen or read, that's called Betrayal, that's told backwards. Oh, I want to do a movie with this concept that is telling the story backwards, because the way you perceive the events is very different. And they say, okay, but what's the stuff? Gaspar, no, nothing hardcore. They say, no, nothing hardcore. So we'll find a subject. So, and then the moment we arrived there, we agreed that it could be a rape, or it could be a very open adaptation or betrayal, or otherwise it could be a rape and revenge movie told backwards. So we ended up having lunch with this producer and another one who was also there. And I said, okay, if it's not a joke, well, but when do you want to shoot? And I said, they're free in 5 weeks, so let's shoot it in 5 weeks. Yeah, but you need to write something. And he said, okay, I have to find a title. So yeah, a title. So I had 5 weeks to write 3 pages. Find the title Irreversible, but Irreversible comes because that was the main concept, that the story was told backwards. And 5 weeks later, we were shooting with a very low budget, but with 2 big stars. And we showed the movie in a chronological order, and the third character who came in, played by Albert de Pointer, who was a very famous comedian at the time in France, he couldn't believe that we were shooting. He said, I can't believe they're shooting a movie without a script. Yeah, I have a script, I have 3 pages. The whole story is written in these 3 pages. And he was there, I said, I can't believe you're shooting it. Yeah, and you're playing in the movie tomorrow, so come to get your dress and come tomorrow. And yeah, it was, although the movie seems kind of violent, during the whole shooting, it was big fun. We were happy, laughing all the time, and it's weird how these magic tricks that are done in a childish, innocent way can look so dark on screen. If you meet a director like David Gentle, he's the funniest man in the world, and he's doing these horror movies that shocked many people. And, yeah. Actually, in the real life, I think the directors who do comedies, they are scary. They're greedy. They talk about money, dirty talking, dirty thinking. But well, then you meet all these like transgressive horror film directors. They're sweet as hell.
Is that because horror directors see life as painful and they don't want to give pain to others?
No, they project their nightmares. I don't know what these greedy directors of comedies do with their money, but I don't know how they complete their migrants. I don't want to see.
The film was an enormous success. Did that give you pressure? Because it took you quite some time before you made the next one.
No, the reason why hopefully that movie was a commercial success, because also I didn't expect the movie to be put in competition in Cannes. I thought it would be like a midnight screening for fantastic film festivals or cult film festivals or a cult audience, and we finished the movie in time to submit it for the Cannes Film Festival, and it was selected there. And Thierry Fremont, who was the artistic director, was his first year, and so he liked the movie. I said, I don't know, this movie is really too tough to be put in competition. And I had this good idea. I told my producer, but tell him to put it at midnight in competition. I said, oh yeah, that's an idea. So they transferred him my idea. And finally, he managed to convince the other people that, yeah, it would be in competition at midnight. But it was the only movie ever that was put at midnight in competition since they stopped. But of course, I didn't get any award. It was too much for the jury at the time. And but I got the Palme d'Or, the Golden Palm of the Scandal of the Year, and that's much better. Everybody was talking about the movie, talking very badly mostly, but there was a lot of bad press that was even better, stronger than the good press. So and then the movie was a commercial success. I think even in Turkey and in Greece, he had more spectators than the other French success of the year, Amélie Poulain. That was the French feel-good movie. It seems that in some countries they prefer the French feel-bad movie to the French feel-good movie. So yeah, great. That's a commercial success. Made my producers and financiers and distributors proud of me. They said, oh, this is a good horse, let's bet on him again. And then they bet on my next movie, but they lost a lot of money. That's a good thing about having at least one commercial success, that it opens some doors that would be totally closed otherwise. And the other one, yeah, it's a very dreamy movie. That's I would say my dream project. I wanted to do a movie inspired by all these like books that I read as a teenager about life after death and astral projection. And at a point I said, well, probably it's true. I should try to have an astral projection so I can get prepared to what's coming next. And I did all these breathing exercises like yogis, like inhaling every 3 minutes, exhaling, and then yeah, you start seeing hallucinations because the lack of oxygen turns you're almost dead when you're dead. And actually I stopped doing those exercises the day I learned that a woman that I talked with who was fascinated by those same exercises died while doing them. And then we found her corpse like 1 week later. She was all rotten. I said, oh, but yeah, and if you don't pay attention, it's just you start hallucinating and then you're gone. It's great, but you're gone. And so I said, well, instead of going, like my friend who died doing those exercises, I decided that I really wanted to do that movie and show what a soul can see if a soul could spy the life of the living. So I wrote this script that initially I wanted to shoot in France, and I decided I should move it to America, and then finally, because I was promoting the movie Carne and then Sol contre tous, I went to Japan. I fell in love of Japan. I fell in love with their neon tubes. I fell in love with the people there for all reasons. I fell in love also of the way they work, their culture. So I said, no, I'm sure I need to do this movie in a dream city like Tokyo. So it was very difficult to convince the producers that I wanted to do a movie with lots of visual effects describing like mushroom hallucinations or LSD hallucinations, in which the main character is a soul floating above the living, and that's a bit like a maze. The story is a bit unclear, but there are other movies with maze structures like The Matrix that were very popular, and and Mulholland Drive. So finally I said, oh, if the Matrix worked, if Mulholland Drive worked, probably this movie with no famous actors, directed by the man who made Irreversible so commercial, it could probably work. So of course it's going to work. Of course it did not. But the movie was made, and the company didn't go bankrupt. But I'm very proud of the movie. I haven't seen it since, so probably I wouldn't be that proud if I see it again. I hate watching my own movies because when you watch your own movies, you just want to re-edit them, remix the sound. It's painful. Yeah. I don't know if it happens to writers to reread their own novels, but you don't see. Sometimes you're surprised that you wrote those things, that you directed those things. Some things are touching because you say, "Oh, this guy was cool, but he died since," or that woman was great, or I lost her number. But mostly, you're always thinking as a film director who wants to make it better. So I always avoid watching my movies. But I heard it's good.
I'm aware of time, so I want to jump forward to Climax. This amazing film with a long dance sequence. Can you talk a little bit, because obviously you've done Love before that, but you got to Climax, and you kind of surprised everyone. It was a very different kind of Gaspar Noé film, and it was very choreographed, which a lot of your films are.
There was one main choreography scene in the movie. Well, the rest was not very choreographed. And the truth is that I like projects that can happen very instinctively, because when you say how do you decide to make a movie, you can also get bored of yourself and your own project if you spend too much time working on it. I got bored many times, but then I ended up I kept on going on Enter the Void, but the whole production of Enter the Void from the beginning to the end took 6 years if you include the 1 year of promotion. And I said I never want to do a movie that would take 6 years of my life again. So since then I'm trying to do movies that take me 1 year from the conception to the promotion. And I had the idea of Climax. It was shot 3 years ago, and in the month of December, a girl that I met in Paris, she said, "Oh, I want to come to a voguing ballroom," and was a very pretty dancer model who was working in a commercial directed by Nicolas Winding Refn. We invited me and said, "Yeah, what's a voguing ballroom?" He said, "Oh, we're all voguers." I said, "Are voguers?" "Yeah, voguers." And so I checked what the voguers were. It's a kind of dancing, very linked to the gay community in France, in the United States, and I said, "What is it?" It's like, "Yeah, it's a battle. Everybody's like dancing one by one, and then people decide who's the winner." And I said, "Okay, of course I'll come." And I went there with my line producer. He has a motorbike, so I said, "I want to come with me." "Of course, let's go together." And we went there, and it was crazy. It was the best party I had seen in Paris for a while. Everybody was screaming, dancing, applauding, and the energy was crazier than in any football game that I've ever seen. I said, "Wow, what the hell is this world that I didn't know and that I missed my whole life?" So with my line producer, we said, "Oh, this is a great subject for a documentary. I'd love to film these people, also because I'm a bad dancer, but I like dancing, and when I go to clubs, mostly I like watching people who are good dancers. I'm more fascinated by people who dance than by acrobats on TV or things like that, or by sports on TV. So I said, well, this would be a pleasure if we could make a documentary with such good dancers. I could even learn some movements that I couldn't do otherwise. And I sold. The truth is that I sold to my producers the idea of shooting a documentary on street dancing. So I started checking all the best dancers of a kind of wild dance called Crump that you see in a movie called Rise by there's another kind of dance in France called Electro. That's a bit close to it. Then of course the voguing and also we mix it with some acrobats. So at the end we spent like 3 weeks searching for the best street dancers, unknown dancers, through their Instagram, some websites, or some battles that were filmed. And we were meeting all these dancers, and I'd say, hey, we need to do a narrative movie with these guys. It's even better. And 1 month later, after going to this ballroom, I convinced my producers again that it would be a bit more expensive because it was turning into a narrative movie. And I said, well, but we can mix like real dancing with the story. And then it was this story that we decided to put on screen. And but we shot the whole movie because the budget was very low. They told me, oh, you have to shoot it in 15 days. And so of course I'll shoot it in 15 days, but 15 days was actually, I turned it into 3 weeks or 5 days. So we had 15 days to shoot it. And I saw that because all these dancers were coming from different families of dancing, that some of them would fight, and so the only way to survive to this shooting that can be very problematic because of all the energies on the set is to shoot it in a chronological order. So if someone gets mad or breaks his leg and can't stop anymore, we just say, oh, he disappeared. So those kind of situations, you can save them if you shoot the whole movie in a single location in a chronological order. And the whole set was one single place. And we started shooting the movie by the opening scene that is a dance scene with all these like random dancers. And Sofia Butera, who was playing the choreographer in the movie, she recommended me a choreographer from Los Angeles who came, and actually she came on a Monday, no, she came on a Wednesday, so she had like Monday, Thursday and Friday to create a choreography with these dancers that didn't know each other mostly. And I actually discovered the choreography on the day of shooting. And I said, well, my job now is to operate the camera, the crane. So show me your choreography. We'll find the clothes in the morning and decide how they're going to be, or what they're going to be wearing. And we'll shoot this choreography with the crane scene in the afternoon. And we shot until 3 in the morning. And the last take was the good take that you see in the movie. And from that moment on, we're like shooting 5 minutes of the movie with no cuts every day. And the next morning we would decide which was the best take of the night before, and then we would freeze the image at a certain point, and the next day we would start with all the dancers frozen in exactly the same final position than the night before. So they're here, and we match. Oh, yeah, here, like that, and then we would would start every scene like 3, 2, 1, go, and then they would keep on going. So and when the camera comes, you don't see there is a cut, but there are invisible cuts. And we shot for a few days all these guys dancing, but after doing the choreography, I told them you can dance as you feel, you can also talk as you feel, you're going to play yourselves, like doing things. So it was very open, and I saw I'm not going to tell them how to dance. They're the best street dancers in the world, so and battle dancers in the world, so let them be free. And from time to time, one dancer would say, oh, this is turning. No, I don't get too much. I don't get enough attention. I'm leaving the shooting tomorrow. This is my last night. Goodbye. I said, okay, see you tomorrow. And the next morning he was there. There were tensions all the time, but at the end we finished the whole movie. And also at a point I understood that if I wanted to get the best of them, because they were very funny, I should stop doing it with long takes. And there's a part of the movie that's made of like long monologues or dialogues of characters together. And I told them to improvise in front of the camera for 30 minutes, and I would just skip 5-6 minutes of those scenes, or sometimes 2 minutes, just the funniest part. And then it's very lively, and we complete the movie very quickly. And that movie, it was a kind of commercial success, critical success. So then that was good, because I could start another movie. As long as you don't make people lose money, they kind of still like you. But and then the COVID appeared. And, when the COVID appeared, life became difficult for everybody, and in the film industry to finance a movie, direct a movie, produce it, release it. Everything became complicated. So that's when, for example, my next feature arrived, I was in Buenos Aires with my father for New Year's Eve, and when I came back, the same producers of Climax told me, "Oh, do you have any idea of a movie that you could shoot like in 15 days?" I said, "Well, give me 20 days this time, but in one single location with 2-3 characters, because it was really difficult in March 2021 to shoot a movie. You need a permit to go from one neighborhood to another in Paris, etc., etc." So I found this idea of shooting a movie about an old couple. The woman has Alzheimer's, and her husband, who's 80 years old, also has heart problems, and they have a kid who has other personal issues that make he's not fully taking care of his parents, and it's a whole drama, but very close to real life. I say I know those kind of situations because I saw my mother losing her mind. My father takes hard pills, etc. So it's not autobiographical, but I know what the situations look like. And I said, well, let's try to do this one. And I found two actors to play the main couple that accepted immediately. And once again, we were shooting the movie. After consuming the movie, 1 month later, we were shooting in a recreated location with my dreamt actors on non-actors. And once again, I told them to be free to express themselves verbally as they wanted. That I wanted to make it feel like a documentary, so I would cut whatever is not interesting. I would keep everything that was interesting.
And that film was Vortex, which we had last year. I'm going to give time for the audience to ask questions now. And so if anyone has one, yeah, just up there. And as the microphones come in, I can assure you that Gaspar was not being humbled at his dancing skills.
Hi, my name is Nomar. I just want to say first, Climax is one of my favorite movies of all time, so it's an honor to have you here. But my question is, a lot of times when your movies come out, there's like a bunch of words that are used to describe words like provocative, like disturbing, like these types of things. And I was just wondering, like, in your words, how do you describe your filmography, if you can even like summarize everything in a few words? And also, what was it like working with Sky Ferreira for her album cover?
Concerning the words that they use for me, yeah, provocative sounds good, but I don't like when they say provocateur, because it's a French word. I say, why don't they use the word daring and they use provocateur? It's like people consider that French people are pervs or what, use a normal English word. But I think I'm just doing the kind of movies that I would want to see on screen, and I'm very grateful that directors like Buñuel, Fassbinder, Kenneth Sanger existed before me, or David Lynch, and those are the movies or Todd Browning, the movies like Freaks are wonderful. Eraserhead is wonderful, and Videodrome by Cronenberg is wonderful. So I wanted to do the kind of films that I like watching, and very often those movies had issues with the censorship because there were like strong dreams. If you want to film a nightmare, make it Bad Marriage. You cannot do a nightmare and shoot it as a sweet dream. So when you go to see a film Nightmare, it should be shocking. Everything is fake on screen. So, but also one thing as a director, you shouldn't pay attention to what the other people say. You should pay attention to what the people you respect say. And for example, my last movie, Vortex, the main issue for me was to show it to my father, not to anybody else. And that's why last year I couldn't come here, because I went to Argentina to show the movie to my father, because this movie is going to affect him, because it portrays the situation with the woman that was close to the situation of my mother. So I was there and I spent some time with my father. But yeah, sometimes your favorite audience as a director it's not the general audience, it's some particular people. Or I also wanted Dario Argento, who played in that movie, to be proud of the movie, and I wanted Françoise Lebrun, who played in probably my favorite movie from the 70s, La Maman la Putain, to be proud of the movie she was playing in. So yeah. And for example, when Climax was released, he went to a film festival in Switzerland, and the president of the jury was Cronenberg, and Cronenberg gave me the award. And I was mostly happy because it was Cronenberg who gave it to me, not because it was an award from a Swiss film festival. It was like the fact that he decided that my movie was good, that I really enjoyed. Then about the Sky Ferreira. One day I got a phone call. There's a pop singer in America called Sky Ferreira, and one day she said, "Oh, Gaspar." I met her in some parties in LA, and we had friends in common. Say, "Oh, I'm in Paris. I'm releasing a record." I said, "Okay." I didn't know her music yet, but and she said, "Oh, do you want to do a photo of me for the cover?" I said, "Of course." But I like taking photos. I'm not a professional photographer. I don't even have a professional camera. I'm always borrowing cameras from my friends. So I always ask a friend who's an assistant to bring his camera and show me exactly. But I like framing. And I said, yeah. And really, we were just 5 people one afternoon, and I had a friend who had a hotel room. And said, "Oh, let's do these photos in this," and everything went very quickly. And actually. She said, "I'm releasing the record," but I didn't even know that if it was true or not. I just said, "Okay, you use it for the cover," and I sent it to the label. But then the record became very successful, and yeah, it was just like a friendly proposal to which I answered friendly, and I'm happy that then sometimes they have the best record covers ever, and yeah, the people like the cover. But from time to time, magazines propose me to take photos, because they like when directors take photos. The world turned very much into name dropping. A photo by Gaspar, no,
Have this one, please.
Hello, thank you for being with us here. So I have a question. A lot of filmmakers are now turning into working with big streamers. Would you consider doing that, or do you think you want to film?
No, the streamers have changed. Used to be Paramount, Warner Brothers. Those were the streamers, and then the TVs were streaming TV. Now there are platforms. The thing is that I don't watch TV or I don't watch platforms at home. So from time to time, I hear there are great things on Netflix, on HBO, etc. And lately, I watch some TV shows on DVD. But I'm not against the idea. But I'd rather keep on doing movies for the big screen, because there are smaller temples and there are big temples. I like the big temple in which I've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey when I was a kid, and I would like to impress other people as I was impressed. So as much as I can, I try to keep on doing movies for the big screen. But the theatrical releases are more and more condemned into superhero movies, bad comedies, directed by evil directors. So.
Great. This question here.
I don't know if you've ever been to Hollywood. It's not a place I would want to live ever. Oh. The energy is weird.
Mr. Naya, I'm your huge fan since Irreversible. My name is Igor, and I think that a lot of crazy things now in the world, and the world become crazy. Should we expect the movie political statement from Mr. Naya?
I don't think the world is turning crazy. I think it was always crazy since the very first day, since life appeared on this planet. So all species are fighting for their survival. Hopefully, we dream.
Yeah, this question here from the director of Mountain Onion, who is in competition here.
Thank you so much for the talk. I want to ask, because I'm also a director and writer, and you wrote all your feature films and short films. Do you have some kind of a everyday routine as a writer, or you just follow the flow as today?
As I said, I don't write. I have concepts. I mostly, before starting a movie, I have a concept, and then I write 3-5 pages, and sometimes I even get money from the French TV or from French subsidies on 5-7 pages. Irreversible was written. There were just 3 pages the day we started shooting. Climax was 5 pages. Love was 5 pages, and the last one was 10 pages because I made the letters bigger, and it was 7 pages. 10, by expanding the size of the letters. But I write treatments, and I'm not a big reader. I read a lot of essays, magazines, but I'm more addicted to narrative cinema than to narrative writing. When people tell me, "Oh, we have a script for you, can you read it?" I mostly say, "Okay, send it to me," but I don't read it. I'm not trying to be unfriendly to screenwriters, or by saying that I don't write and I make movies. But I like the documentary aspect to my movies that comes from the fact that I'm not giving dialogues to any character. I find them on the set with the people I propose to be in front of the camera. There are many directors that I admire that are mostly great screenplayers, and that's it's another kind of form of art to the movie like Separation by Ferrari really impressed me, and or when I see how Christian Mungiu writes his films like 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days. I'm very impressed by both the cinematic writing, but also by the screenplay. I'm not very focused on the writing for the best and for the worst.
Over here, there's a question.
Hi, sorry, I am a little bit nervous. So, I want to ask you some one person question, okay? Okay, this is more like a personal question to you. I read that you had brain surgery in 2019 or 2020, I guess. You were, sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
You want to see if I saw something?
No.
I didn't have any vision.
No, not like this, but...
I can tell you the truth, that I saw something.
Like
Keep it secret.
Like this experience give you a new aspects, or you see like from new perspective after this experience?
I had a brain hemorrhage 2 years and a half ago, just before New Year's Eve, and I almost died. They said, well, there were 50% of chances you would die, 35% of chances that you would come back with some brain issues that would make that you lost part of your vocabulary. But I was very lucky. I belong to the 15% who survived to it without damage. That's what I think. I don't know. Probably have some damage, but I didn't notice it yet. The funny thing is that I was always obsessed with the idea of death and getting close to what it is, like the final mystery. And when you are sent to a hospital because you felt something weird in your head and it's a brain hemorrhage, and they give you morphine for 3 weeks, and you really don't understand what's going on, but you know that you're already one leg on the other side of the existence. And I lost my fascination for death. I lost my fear of death when I saw my mother dying. It's also like I think it was a positive issue when people are very sick. When you see people dying, say, "Oh, finally, for the person, for yourself, and for the whole family, it's good that people pass away when they're suffering." But I was suffering, but I was given a lot of morphine, so the suffering was not that intense. But when I came back from that experience, mostly I said, "Well, I have like an extension for my own life, like okay, the game was over, but we give you a second chance." and I would say I'm more humble and more relaxed. Instead of being more stressed, I say, the party was over, but now it's starting again. So I'm in a very happy mood since that happened, and I survived it. And yeah, I just avoid situations of tension, but in a very natural way. I could get into fights, verbal fights, whatever before. No, I say, that's not an issue. Let's make life simple and happy.
Okay, we're running out of time, but we'll get a couple more in. Please make them quick.
Hello, this is Amro. I'm a Saudi actor. And I would like to ask, when it comes to selecting the actors in your movies, what kind of philosophy you are using and how you can transfer this philosophy on set?
Mostly, you have an idea of the kind of entity you want to portray on screen. Sometimes you think of someone as the main, as your favorite possibility to be in the movie. And sometimes you decide who's the best among the people that are available when they're shooting. My pre-productions are very short, so things happen very quickly. When I wrote the first draft for Vortex, my last movie, I immediately had Dario Argento in mind and Françoise Lebrun. Françoise Lebrun, because she's my favorite French actress of that generation, and I needed a woman who would be 8 years old, who also would have no mental issues, because I wanted someone to portray dementia. And so I have to do with someone who has no dementia at all, because otherwise the person would have been uncomfortable. And she's extremely articulate, very bright, and she played the part very good. And concerning the main actor, I had no idea besides Dario Argento, because also Dario Argento is the father of one of my best friends, Asia Argento. But on every Christmas or New Year's Eve, I call him, "Hey Dario, Happy New Year!" And we have like almost a family relationship. And he reminds me of my father in many ways, because he's very joyful, but also because he talks with his hands. So I couldn't propose to my father to play a situation that was similar to something we went through in real life. But I said, "Oh, it would be good to have someone who reminds me of my father." And he said yes, because his movie had been delayed. So he was a non-actor that I convinced very easily to play in my movie. And then once those two were selected, I needed someone to play their son. And in that case, before anything, I wanted the guy who plays the son to be like a mix of the two faces. And I had many people in mind, actors and non-actors in France. And then I said, "Oh, this guy, Alex Lutz, is a very good actor, but he has a long face like Dario Argento, but he could also be believable as the son of Françoise Lebrun." So sometimes some people care about the resemblance of the actors. Some people don't. When I did my first film, Carne, I wanted the father and the daughter to look alike. But I always see movies from Hollywood, from France, from everywhere, in which a blonde guy is the brother of a blonde girl, and the sister is almost Chinese. I say it doesn't work. Come on, but you have brother, sister. So I don't know. I pay attention to the resemblance, and also sometimes the reason why you pick up an actor is because you see him in a movie that you really like, or because you met the guy and he was very, very cool, or sometimes it's just someone you met in a bar who was there the right day when you decided you would do this movie. But this guy that is having a drink next table, he would be perfect. So you just go and say, "Hey, what are you? I'm an architect. Do you want to be in my movie?" It's a big part. And the architect ends up being in your movie 1 week later, because he has the energy to play the architect. So everything happens. But the good thing about making a movie is not like being on stage in a theater play. You can shoot it many times, and also whatever is bad, you can cut it off. So it's not a big issue if for simple acting, if the people are actors and actors, then when it becomes dramatic or really funny, then some people have skills to make people laugh, some people have skills to make people cry, some people don't have skills, but mostly people can be themselves in front of a screen. Just put them a wig or you change the costume and they'll be themselves.
I'm getting frantically told that this is the end. I'm really sorry. I'm really happy that we could finally get Gaspar to come to Red Sea International Film Festival. It's been a great pleasure, and looking forward to you coming back every time you have a movie.